Hey, welcome back. So, today's video is going to be on our perception of others, and our desire for others to change. So, in the past, like I wrote about, and I'm not completely over this, right? I'm still a work in progress. But what I've noticed is when I was younger, I wished that others would change, right? And I use my parents as an example. I wish that I could be more emotionally, or my parents could be more emotionally vulnerable with me, more accepting. Uh, I wish that my father wouldn't judge me so much, or et cetera, et cetera. And it's not like our relationship was terrible. It's just that I wish they were quote unquote better or different in some way. At the same time, I, doubted that they would change because they're from a different generation, they're a little bit older, whatever. And this wasn't only with regards to my parents. In the military, one of my biggest frustrations was also, and one of the reasons why I left was because I didn't have a say with whom I would have to work with whom I would have to work. Like you get assigned a position, you get told who your subordinates are, who your staff sergeant is, who your gunny is, who your captain is, and who your commanding officer is, who's everyone in your chain of command is decided for you. At least it was for me, which it's just the vast majority of cases. There's some small select instances where maybe they ask, if you're the commanding officer, they might ask you to see who you want to work with if you've had some experience in the military, if you're like starting up a new unit or whatever. But in my case, you're just kind of plugged into the system. And I get that that's like what I signed up for, right, in the military. But it's not something I wanted for my life long term. And so that's one of the reasons why I got out, was so that I could choose who I worked with and who I worked for. And just for various reasons, in the military, there was a lot of people that I just didn't get along with, for whatever the case may be. And I doubt I'm alone in this. If you have a job, if you have a family, there's probably some people you don't get along with. It might not be in your immediate family, but maybe you have that drunk uncle who always ruins Thanksgiving. Um, Maybe you have that coworker that just gets on your nerves for whatever reason. And there's just some people in your life that you wish would change. And maybe you feel like your life would be better if they were not a certain way, or if they were a different way. At the same time, you don't really bother, like, you let people be themselves, and it's like you can't really change people, so whatever, right? And increasingly, I've realized as I've grown over the years that nobody really has to change. The only person that has to change is me. And we can't, like we talk about, we can't force anyone to change, and we're the only ones we can control. I talk about this again, very theoretical, very philosophical, and hypothetical, much harder to implement and practice on a day-to-day basis. But the truth of the matter is that we don't see people as they are, we see them as we are. It's like the classic saying of how, what I say about you says more about me than it really does about you. And if we were better people, if we had more understanding of psychology and therapy and you know all this stuff, we can understand that people are wounded, essentially, and that a lot of people just act out their wounds because they never had a chance to heal. And in this way, we can understand better why people do the things that they do, and perceive them with more compassion and with less judgment. The fact of the matter is, and this is just a little thought experiment, is that if I, knowing what I know now and being who I am now, if I were to go back in time to my Marine Corps days, and all else being equal, if I could be just a little bit more effective, I believe that I would be more effective in the same position, with the same people, etc., now than I was, what, 5, 6 years ago, back in the main time that I was in the Marine Corps. If I could go back in time, being me now and plugging myself in then, I probably would do better. Almost certainly would do better. And what does that mean? Right? That it can only mean one thing, that if the external environment was exactly the same, but I could get a different outcome, means that the only person that changed was me. And therefore, like, there was really nothing objectively wrong, quote unquote, with anyone else. Like, I was the problem, but I'm also the solution. And so, yeah, the point that I'm making is that the world is feedback, and we can't control people. We can't force them to change. And the only thing that we can do is improve and work on ourselves. And I believe that when we work on ourselves and we improve, then we become an example for others. And it compels and inspires them to improve as well. As the quote goes, when we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Now, this isn't always the case. Some people, if they're very wounded, they will get jealous of you. They will project their own insecurities and issues onto you, and so that's something to be aware of. But it's all part of the process, and it's all part of the work that we do on ourselves to be able to understand and see people from this perspective. So I really try hard not to. I still have to try because I'm still growing, to not judge people or to try to understand why they are the way that they are, and to realize that people don't need to change, and even if they did, there's nothing I can do about it. All I can control is me and how I show up and who I am. So, for me, that's something that's empowering. Hope you got some value out of this. Let me know if you did, and I'll see you in the next video.